Exposed Vegan Media Podcast. I am your host, Jaja Porter, a wife, mom, triathlete, and vegan chef. On this channel, you'll experience my ongoing docuseries capturing my swim, bike, run, and nutrition journey featuring all the people I interact with along the way. All right, we are back. It is episode 8 of Exposed Vegan Media. I am super excited to be back. I am so excited to talk to you about multisport, triathlon, and running. And today I have a very special guest. I'm so excited to see her. I think we met preparing for a marathon. I'll allow her to confirm. In South Africa, I was doing the Victoria Falls Marathon, and she was injured, I believe, but she was all over the map. And that should tell you a little bit about her. So we'll get into it right now. What we're going to talk about is IRONMAN California. Let me introduce you to my guest, Janalee! It is so great to see you. And let me just first say, you are an Ironman.
I still can't believe it. So.
I can believe it, girl, because I was tracking you and I'm so proud of you. It was so great to see you cross that finish line and see you wearing all the gear. Just wear all the gear. Yes, proudly. all the gear. So I really want to get into that, get into your whole journey. So we're first just going to talk about your why. Like, what is your why? Why triathlon? Why multisport?
So, being kind of late into just athletics in general, started the marathon thing, and I was like, okay. And I started seeing like my marathon folks doing this multi-sport thing, and I was wondering, I wonder if I could do that. Let me just see if I could do that. And that just kind of is probably mostly what my why is, just to see, for me to just see if I could do it. And yeah, and to do something that no one in my family has ever done or ever even thought about doing. So
yeah, I totally understand it. And so let's talk about your journey. So, you saw people getting into everything, and let's see if I could try. So, triathlon, for some people who this is new to them, we may have some new listeners. Triathlon, you swim, you bike, and you run. Now, you said you were a marathoner, but tell me a little bit about your swimming and biking journey.
So in my whole wondering if I could do it, approximately 2 years ago, I decided I wanted to do an Ironman. Swimming, I did not know how to do, so I had to learn how to swim. And I also had to learn how to ride a bike. So I had basically zero experience in riding a bike or swimming, but I could run a little. So I knew I could do the running part, but the other two, I had no idea. So I was just like, oh, let me just see.
And I feel like I started this after I turned 40, and I thought, okay, when I was a kid, I could swim, but I did the breaststroke. So I was on a swim team, but I never did the front crawl, which is totally different than the breaststroke. The legs are different. It's a frog kick versus a flutter kick. The arms are completely breathing, like everything is different. And on a bike, I remember like I pieced a bike together in the hood from other people who didn't ride their bikes anymore, but I didn't really own a bicycle. So it was just when my husband got me a bike for my 40th birthday, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, figure out
You're like, now what?
how to use this thing. I haven't done it in a minute since I was, my kid's age. So yeah, it was definitely a journey. So learning to do all that as an adult, and just 2 years ago, and then saying I want to be an Ironman. I mean, that's some awesome goals. But you know what? We're gonna get to it because you did it.
Oh, God. And I still can't believe it, but
But you're here. You're
I'm
here.
here.
So tell me a little bit about like how you got started with everything. Do you have a coach? Did you download plans? Did you follow people around like I did?
So I just kind of did a little bit of everything. I did have a coach because, not knowing two of the three disciplines, I actually had to have someone teach me that could do the one-on-one. So I did have a coach through Atlanta Triathlon Club. She was amazing, very patient, teaching an almost 50-year-old how to swim and ride a bike. So I did have to have a coach just for that specific reason because I didn't know how to do two of the sports. And then I also just watched other people as well, just to kind of see like what they were doing. Mostly you. I was like, I watched you a lot, Jaja. So thank you for being one of my inspirations as well. Um, and so yeah, so I had a coach starting June of 2022, and she got me through my first 70.3 in Augusta of 2023. So, and she was amazing.
And Augusta was my first full 70.3. Like I did a relay first. I did Syracuse with Don Davis Calhoun and Kai Rodriguez, and then I did Augusta afterwards. So people like to share that Augusta is a good first one, but Augusta's hard.
It was hard.
It's
I was like, this is
hilly,
not
it's
easy.
hot. It is so
This
hard. So, we love to tell people because you can drive there, you don't have to get a bike box and there's things that you don't have to do if you're in close in the area, but it's still a hard race to get through. And
it,
I remember following you through that one, and I was so proud of you to finish and complete that one. But once you get a 70.3, it's like, what's next, right? A full.
well,
And
actually, my ultimate goal was to do a 70 point, like all for it to happen in 2023, um, before my 50th birthday. So I was supposed to do Chattanooga 70.3 and then Chattanooga Ironman Chattanooga. And, I had to pivot because, I didn't feel ready. And so, and yeah, so my whole goal was to do the Ironman in that same year, but it just didn't happen that way. And I think it happened the best way that it did at this particular time. So,
And that makes sense. If you assess for yourself and for others, just because you extend the date, it doesn't mean that you're not going to complete the goal. You should feel confident in what you're doing. And I often tell people, if you are not confident in getting in open water, I would not suggest it until you're confident. It's one thing to just be like have the jitters and everything, like every athlete, pros to a new person has the jitters, on race day. But like if you're really not confident in everything, there's nothing wrong with extending your goal, and obviously it worked out for you. You found the best course for you to get started. And so, that seems like it was a good choice for you to
most
do that.
definitely. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I always try to tell people that it's okay to pivot if you need to pivot. Pivoting is good, like you said. The goal is still the same. It's
Mhm,
like the
mhm.
timeline is just different, and
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah,
So don't
totally.
beat yourself up and try to pressure yourself to like, oh, well, I have to do it because I set this particular date. You don't have to do that. So
Yeah,
that is definitely one of the key points that I try to let people know.
yeah. And I think as long as you remember who you're really racing and you remember your why and who you're competing against, and if you're really just competing against yourself, it's okay for you to pivot your timeline.
Yeah, it's like
It's
it's
absolutely
totally
okay.
okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay. And it just allowed us to see you complete so many more milestones. It allowed us to just witness you keep going, especially if there's someone out there who said, you know what, I'm going to do this, just not right now. It's going to be at this time, for you to be able to get to that. So you ended up with Ironman California. Now, why did you choose that course? Because I grew up in Southern California, so I love California. So when you said you were going to do that, I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing for her. I'm excited. Why did you choose California?
So I was originally supposed to do Ironman Maryland. I again felt like I needed more time. And my swim is still not my strongest sport. And California, I heard, was like, oh, it's a great one for first timers. You have a fast downriver swim, you know, it's flat, like the whole nine. So I was like, okay. So that gives me 5 more weeks to train and 5 more weeks to get ready and more comfortable with everything. And so it's like California dreaming, here I come. So,
And I remember seeing you come out of the swim
oh my
and you looked so happy. Like I was like, yay! And I was like, wow, that was fast.
It was fast. I made it out in time. I was just like, oh my gosh, I actually made it out of the water in time with like actual time to spare. Like
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted. So I was like, well, let me just go ahead and cheer this win right now. So that's
Yeah.
exactly
I
what I
was so
did.
happy for you. And I was like, and that gives her a lot more time.
Yes.
Um, and for people that, again, if this topic is new, you swam 2.4 miles in a river swim, and you get 2 hours and 20 minutes to complete that task. So for those that are, thinking about becoming an Ironman, that is what you're expected to do, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then from the swim to the bike, this one, you're getting 10 hours and 30, right, for California?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little different for me. So you'd have to complete that with a transition in between. So share with us what transition was like. So I saw you came out of the water. You were excited. We were excited for you. We were so happy with the people on the ground that was sharing visuals real time. And I was like, she looks in good spirits. So what was that like to go from swimming to bike? To walk us through that.
Okay, so from the swim exit, they have the wetsuit peelers. I got down, when I did my little cheer thing, like, ooh, I made it out of the water in time. And then I went to the peelers, got down, they ripped my, wetsuit off. I got up and caught a cramp, like in my in my left butt cheek. And I was like, oh my gosh, cramp, cramp. And so they stood there with me, for a minute. And it wasn't quite a minute, but, I just stood there until it went away. And I made my way to transition. Now, I was a little confused by the tents and things of that nature. So I knew I'd grab my bag and then I had to go into the tent to, I only sat down. I mean, my whole goal was not to sit down, but I had to sit down because I had the booties on, like the swim booties. Those things are hard to get off standing up. So I had to sit down for a brief moment to get those done, to get those off. The transition actually went very smoothly. Like I put my helmet on first because, you have to put that on before you touch your bike. So I made a point to make sure I put that on first. And then, got my shoes and sunglasses and anything else in my hydration pack and headed out to my bike. It took me roughly 12-ish minutes to do that transition, which I thought was pretty good with it being, my first Ironman transition because I had no idea about changing tents and things of that nature. I'm like, what is this?
And it's normal for people to go in and sit. Like if you ever watch the pros, they go in. I mean, I've seen the men this last championship race was watching. I mean, they were really fast, but you saw them sit, put their socks and shoes on, and then put their cap on, and they're just out. So, or if they're doing a lot of them had their shoes on their bike, so they would. But a lot of them they go in there and they sit down, so it's totally fine. There's no ding
What's
against you.
And I think like my thing with me, it's just like one of those things, is when I did Eagleman, like my transition time at the first transition from the swim to the bike. Oh, actually, no, it was T2. I just sat down and I just took too long because I sat down. And so in
Mm,
my brain, I'm like, don't sit down, don't sit down.
mm,
Like, and in my
yeah. You're trying to
race
learn
plan, I
from
put,
other
don't sit down.
races. Yeah, you're trying to learn from other races what happened here and let me not do that there. So I totally get it. Sometimes I know I overthink. So I go from another thing, but you were still out. I agree with you. I thought you did a good job with transition. I'm like, oh, she's moving. I'm looking, we're all looking on the tracker for those of us aren't there yelling and talking to you like you can hear us. Um,
I
but
think I
like,
felt all of it though, I
yeah,
promise.
I'm like, "Yeah, you're doing good, keep moving," and I think I was messaging with you in Messenger, like, good job, girl. And I'm like screenshotting, like you can't see it later. Like, But yeah, we were all there with you and tracking you and everything. So now you're on the bike course. So I haven't done this course before. So you're gonna have to break this one down for me, especially for the people who are looking to sign up next year. How was this?
Okay, so the bike. Right, pretty much right as I got started, I my air compressor popped out of the pocket of my tri-suit, and I had to put my bike down, run back, and get it without getting run over by other cyclists. Um, so got to that point. The wind. So it's a very flat course. Most of the roads are very nice. Um, But the only thing that you have to watch out for is the wind. The wind was something that I knew was a possibility, but was just hoping that it wouldn't come to fruition. Like it was treacherous. Is all I'm gonna say. I mean, we had beautiful weather, but it's just the wind gusts were up to. I think in one of the charts, it was like up to 33 mile per hour gusts, and just trying to like hold yourself steady, so you don't end up in a ditch. There's a stretch of road, um, Babel Sloth Road is the name of that particular 4 mile stretch where the chip seal is very, um, it just isn't good. It was very bumpy. There's divots and pits and places where they've tried to seal the road. We had to do that 4 times. So it was a two loop um, course. Um, Going out again, just fighting the headwind, the crosswinds, the wind gusts, um, only to get to the end. And then the turnaround was actually okay because you can just kind of blaze back because the wind was at your back. And then getting to the second loop, um, of course, after the first loop, uh, we had a lot of our fast chicks ladies there helping us, get our things together. Like, do you need a sip of this? They were there volunteering, so it was really, really awesome to see them there. So I was so excited. But I needed all of that just to get to that second loop because once we got to the second loop, the wind had picked up. The gusts had gotten stronger. It got to the turnaround again, hoping that I would have the wind at my back once more. The wind was not at my back. It had shifted, so we had more of a headwind, and along with the crosswind and gusts. So of course, getting back wasn't as quick as the first loop, and just kind of fighting through that and just kind of taking a beating. But like other than the wind and that 4 mile stretch that we had to go over 4 times, the bike route itself was actually, I thought, was really pretty because there's lots of vineyards out there. You see all the wine or all the grapes and the vines and everything. It was actually really pretty during the time that I was going through there.
That sounds really nice. It's funny that what you described of the bike course, I'm like, oh, that sounds like Texas, which I'm training for now, because you're going against the wind for 20 something miles, I think, and then it's
Hmm.
on your back going back, but then like you kind of don't want to go back because you know you're getting the wind again. But like Ironman Arizona, at least when I did it, is 3 loops and you're going up and back and up and back. And sometimes on that third time down, the wind shifts. So you want to have it helping you on the way back, but it really depends on the weather or the wind or the time of day. And if you're a back of the packer, like back of the packers, I don't care what nobody say. We have it the worst because the weather changes on us. We have like 3
Yes.
seasons when we're racing. we
Like
so
everything happens.
we have it so hard. And so yeah, I totally can relate to that weather and wind shifting. It's brutal, but you made it. Yeah.
I know it did. Like I actually made it through. I mean, I really did feel like I was beat up after that. It was the craziest thing. I was just like, okay, yeah, this hurts. And I was so ready to be off the bike.
Yeah.
And, that's just like not sugarcoating. Like I was literally just ready to be off the bike. So I was looking forward to the run. Like I really was. Just So I didn't have to deal with that wind anymore because it was
Yeah.
just dumb.
Yeah. And it's funny because you get out of the water and you're like, "Yay, I made it. I can go ride my bike." Yay. And then you're on the bike course, you're like, "Somebody take this bike. Just take."
Just get me off of this thing. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? And it's like, and and it was crazy. Someone gave us these bracelets here.
Mhm.
And this is what kind of kept me going on the bike.
Mhm.
It's like the never give up. I had it on my aero bars and I just looked at that on that second loop because I was just like, you know what? I don't know if I have anything left.
Right.
'Cause I'm just
Right.
done.
And but you got to the end and you're like, "I I get to run a marathon."
And then there's that part. Like, who does this?
Oh,
Like,
for people that are not used to it. So she did 2.4-mile swim in the river. She made it. She was quick transition. Now you did 112 miles, right? California is 112.
112 miles biking. Yeah.
112 miles. She made it. And now she's so excited to run a marathon
So excited just because I'll be off the bike.
because you'll be off the bike. But you get to the changing tents again, right? So how was the transition experience now? Because you've already been through it for the bike.
So at Ironman California, you can leave your your run gear bag at your bike. So I didn't have to go into the changing tent this time. I just went straight to my bike. I mean, straight to the transition area, and I actually took a potty break and got my shoes on and was like, okay, grabbed all of my go bag and everything, the Fast Chicks go bag, and put my visor and stuff on as I was running. And um, that transition took like maybe 11 minutes, close to 11 minutes, which was pretty quick for me. Which I was like, okay, I can handle this. This is good. And then to get out on the run, the weather was nice. The sun had basically kind of started going down because, being one of the back of the Packers, you get things done as the sun's going down. So it's a little cooler. You don't have the heat of the day, which was really nice. Um, but then the sun went all the way down before I got to the personal needs area where I could get my vest and light. So it was very dark there. It was scary. And the course that they had done like a little bit of a switch. So the course wasn't as flat as they said initially. So we had like a lot of like little rolling ups and downs, and the course was a two loop course with a lot of out and backs, which was very interesting. But you can stay on course easier that way, I suppose. Um, but yeah, there were definitely had lights out there, but it definitely had gotten dark. They did hand out flashlights and little headlamps at the aid stations, so that was nice. So they did have those on deck, which was like stellar until I could get to my personal needs bag that had my light that lights up the world.
I've never heard that before. I've only because I've done not completed 9, and only thing I've gotten was the little thing around your neck, the little glow in the dark thing that you put around
Oh,
your neck. I've never been to one where they hand you flashlights or anything like that. And yeah, I've been to a couple where it's like, man, very scary.
yeah. Because I mean, it's like
Where's
it's pitch
someone
black, so
coming
you
with
can't go as
me?
fast as you would
Right,
normally try to go because you can't see anything. And
right.
I'm like, well,
I get
and then there
scared.
was like a little bit of like mixed terrain. So you would have some gravel, you'd have some asphalt, you'd have sand, just random little spots. And they would have it well marked. So it was well marked that, yes, you're about to go through this mixed terrain.
But can you
And so,
see those signs?
I'm sorry,
Could you see those signs?
you could see the signs because they actually had lights like
Uh,
around where those were.
okay.
So the signage they had, it was very well lit, but then you just kind of got to some of the other areas and you just really couldn't um, see. And at one point, so I made it to my personal needs bag. got my vest, got my light, was finishing on, the second half of the course, and my light goes out on my vest. And there's no aid stations during that time. So I met up with there was this guy that was there. He's like, well, since I'm walking, I'll walk with you. And you can use my light. But then he ended up like going too slow for me. So I
Mm,
had to,
yeah.
you know, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to let you go. But thank you for letting me use your light. And I went to one of the aid stations. They didn't have any more lights. And then when I came back around, they actually found one for me.
Oh.
It was someone's own personal light. It was sweaty, it was wet, it was gross, but I was like, I didn't care. I'm gonna put this light on to lead the way by any means necessary. And normally I wouldn't ever do that, but I wanted to get finished. And so I was just so thankful they gave me that light because literally I could not see a thing in certain parts of that course, that run course.
It's
And
so
I
funny.
stayed with my 30-30 intervals, kept my heart rate low, um, fueled, and made it through. Yeah.
And it's so funny. There's some interesting things that we'll do during an Ironman, which we would never do on a normal day, or any other type of race for that matter. But for
Ever.
an Ironman, you're like, I am gonna get to this finish line by any means necessary. I don't care if I have to go to the bathroom right here. Like,
It's like, yeah, and I did a lot of that. I did not stop to go to the porta potties.
yep,
I'm like,
yep.
I'm not stopping. I'm just going to keep going.
And
And
especially if you
it
can't
is
see
what it
where they
is.
are, right? If you don't know where they are, you don't see anything, you're just like, I gotta go.
Yep. And here we are.
Yeah,
And
here we are.
so I was like, okay, this is different because I had never done that before. It's like, well, you got to go. You got to go.
Mhm,
And that's the good, bad, and the ugly about it. Like it
mhm.
just is what it is. Like all of the prissiness literally goes out the door. Like you
Yeah.
don't none of that stuff matters anymore.
No, no. Those are kind of the things we don't always talk about.
And you know what? We probably should just to make people
Right,
understand that it's okay.
right, right. Oh no, it is okay, and it happens
And it happens.
to everyone. We just don't say it as much. It's so yeah. It's probably very unique about that race. Everything goes to try to get through
Everything.
something. So
Because you're just like, look, whatever. Like this
right,
is just what we have to do to get through this.
whatever. And so you got to the finish line. Tell me about going through the finisher shoot and how you were feeling and what your thoughts were. Just walk us through that.
So you could hear the finish line before you could see the finish line. So here you are, you're thinking that you're almost there, but then there's another loop you have to go through. And I was like, wait a minute, I hear them, but we're running away from the finish line. So I was like, why are we running away from the finish line? So I was like, okay, fine, I'll just stay the course. And then I finally got to the point where I saw the red carpet. And I was like, did I make it? It's like, am I here? So in my brain, I'm like, is this an illusion? Like, is this a mirage? Did I actually make it? And I didn't. I rang the first timer bell as I was coming up. And then as I was coming through, I still was in disbelief that I had done this distance. And it was only when I heard um, the announcer say, Janalee Sullivan, you are an Ironman, did it like actually register that I literally finished and that it was true, that it was real, and that I mean I did 140.6 and I am an Ironman. Like never in a million years did I ever think that I would have ever been in that space at all. Like this little girl from Oklahoma that didn't do any sports or anything ever in her life, up until like what I didn't start doing anything until like 2008, 2009. So for me to hear that and to realize that I actually accomplished that goal, that, during training, sometimes I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And then to actually do it and to hear that, Janalee Sullivan, you are an Ironman, it still gives me chills.
Me
Like,
too.
hands
Like
down.
I'm trying not to cry.
Uh,
And you are, because you already said it, so I'll repeat it, and you're over 50.
yes, I'll be 51 actually next week. And not even thinking about it, I did it all in my year of 50. Like, because I know initially it was just like wanted to do a triathlon before I turned 50. And then now I'm an Ironman before I turn 51.
Yeah.
What? What?
Like, what?
What?
Great. And so it's like, oh, when people say they're too old to do things or they can't do stuff and they're under 50, I'm like, girl, let me,
It's
let
like, come on
me
now.
show.
It's like I always tell folks,
Right,
if you really want to do it,
right.
you can totally do it. You just have to,
Mm-hmm,
put your mind to it, grind and do it. So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm like, age is nothing but a number.
Nothing but a number.
And this stuff actually, believe it or not, keeps us younger
Right,
because everything's moving properly.
right. I remember looking at the pictures of you at the finish line with it saying Iron Man behind you. And I'm like, Zoom, I'm like, she looks amazing. So I was like, she looks so good. I'm like, I hope she keeps these pictures forever. Because, it's not like I haven't been around you throughout the years, but when you don't see someone every day and then you see a picture of them, I'm like, she looks amazing. You look like you're in amazing shape. And I was just so happy for you from afar. And so there's one thing about this journey, it allows you to learn things about yourself. Because sometimes people ask me, why do you keep doing that? But I learned so much about myself, my tolerance, my patience, and sometimes people I can depend on, throughout these journeys and who I get good vibes from and who I shouldn't continue to connect with because they don't give me good vibes when I'm trying to work on a particular goal. And so there's just so much you learn. But then sometimes you get that snapshot of yourself at the end and it's like, yeah, this journey, was worth it because I can see and I could totally see that for you. I was like, "Oh, she looks so happy." Like I know she's in pain, but because I know the pain, but I was just like, she looks so happy, and I'm so happy for her. It was just awesome to watch. So, just share with others. So, what's next for you? What are you feeling right now? Now that that's over.
So I'm still in the realm of I will not ever do another Ironman. So I'm still in that space. People are like, oh, give it a couple of weeks. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a couple of weeks. So um, right now I don't have another Ironman on my goal list, but I think for 2025 I will maybe do a repeat of some of my beginning races in 2023, like my very first sprint triathlon. I'll go back and do that one. I'll do Eagleman, uh, Ironman 70.3 Eagleman, try that one again. Chattanooga, 70.3, maybe that. And then do Augusta again, the 70.3. So I think that's kind of like what my game plan is as of right now. But that could change. It could be where I want to figure out a different Ironman. Who knows? I don't know. The world is my oyster on that one.
Yeah, once you do one and you have a game plan for others, like you can do the distance. You know what I mean? So now you can choose to
Right.
like, let me see, because this was in my early days. This is when I first started. I remember thinking like Chattanooga, I think I did after Augusta, and I did it like
Okay.
8, 9 years ago. And I have to look at my medals, but I remember thinking like, oh, I'm never doing that one again. It was so hard. It was so hard, so hard. And then I did it earlier this year with Khadijah, and I was like, why did I think this was so hard? But it's because I did so many races that were so much harder than that one in between when I went
Okay.
back and did it. I mean, I was spreading the worst rumors to people like, it's really gonna suck, guys. It's really gonna, and then I'm on the course like smiling.
You're like, oh, do-do-do-do-do. You're like, well, this wasn't that bad.
This was my second 70.3. That's why I kind of hated it, but I've done like 14 since then. So, you know, so you kind of like it's fun to like go back though and to remember like where you were and the things that may have bugged you before. Now you're doing it again and you know how to tackle it. You know how to
Right.
achieve
And I
it.
think that's kind of the space that I might be in just to
Yeah.
kind of see how I do
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
because I'm
Because
definitely more comfortable with all the sports now. So
right.
I think that's got to be helpful.
Right. And you're not going there with, yep, I just learned how to ride a bike a couple months ago. So it seems like
I still
you're
can't believe
going
that.
as an Iron Man. So different mindset. So yeah, I can't wait to hear how you feel about those races. And I haven't talked to anyone about Augusta. So yeah, maybe we'll have to recap that one to see how you feel, especially going back.
Oh, yeah, because that one was a rough one for me. But again, it was my first 70.3. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I've done Augusta 3 times. The first time I did it, it was like, I almost died. And then the second time I was like, oh, then third time it was like, hey guys, how's everybody doing?
You're like, you're like a little fairy, sprinkling fairy dust.
Because I had done it so many times. But if you look at the first time to the third, it was like, Sasha, if you don't hurry up, stop talking to us and finish this race.
You're like, girl, come on, come on.
So yeah, so going back is fun. Seeing how far you've come is fun, and going back to a 70.3 as an Ironman is definitely a nice little flex for your self confidence. So excited
Yeah,
to
because
hear
I'm like
about
thinking about, a 56-mile bike ride. Oh,
it.
that's nothing.
Even though sometimes when you're training for an Ironman, you do a 70.3, it's not a big deal. But then when you're just training for a 70.3, you're like, whew, how did I do a full?
Right.
Tired.
And it's like, that's what I think my thought process will be like, how did I actually even do
Right.
that?
Yeah.
And I think I technically started training for the full like in March
Yeah.
of this year. So
Yeah.
that
So you,
was,
you go through those emotions. So
yeah.
well, it was great to talk to you. Thank you for recapping for us. I know so many people can't wait to hear this story. We're so proud of you. And we can't wait to see what's next because we know you don't stop moving. And we'll see how fast or how slow this yeah, I'm not doing another one. Because I've said that a couple times.
So then how long did it take you to like, so once you did your first one and then the dust settled?
Hmm.
Because
You
I
know
mean,
what
you're
it
9
is?
in, so I'm just like still just this.
You know, I think the next couple, like several, I love racing with so many different people.
Mhm.
So I think what was after that. Like I love being on the course with Khadijah and Vaughn. We've done several. Oh, you know what? It was Vaughn. I think it was Maryland that I did after that. And we did Arizona. And when she said she was going to do that one, I was like, well, of course I have to race with my race boo. So let me just, go and do that. And I think I'd seen so many people do Cozumel, and that was like, oh, I could take the kids. That's like a vacation. So there's so much that comes into play and that comes into your mind of, you do the race, but then there's people you could do the race with, and it's fun, as you know, to have people on the course with you. So it's
Yes.
like, oh, it can be fun. It's a sick kind of fun, but it's fun to train with friends, to go and do, a race, a destination race. And now I just enjoy traveling and, to go to another country. Like I won't do another marathon in the US. I have to like leave the
Really?
country, which is why we met in South Africa and why, I've done Greece because I was just like, if I'm going to do 26 miles alone, I want it to be like out of the US because I've done, the US one so many times. So
Right.
Miami and I love those races, but I'm like, I'm going to leave the country. There's so many other things to see in the world. So I think what it is when I hear friends are doing stuff, I'm always like, all right, fine. I'm
You're
coming.
like, I want to try that one.
Yeah, never been there. Let's see what that's like.
And folks be like, oh, we need better friends. Like, no, we have the perfect friends. And they keep us moving.
Yeah.
And like
Mhm.
and I do
Mhm.
want I want to say, like during my coaching of this time, I had um two different coaches. Or one was the one for Maryland and the other one was um McKinley Mason. So I'm very thankful. I just have to put that out there for him. Um, for coaching me just the 2 months that I had the honor of him coaching me. And I think that's one of the reasons I made it through. So I needed to put that out there. I forgot to say that
Yep,
during
shout
the
out to McKinley. So we'll make sure that
yeah.
we keep that in here.
Yeah,
Anything
it's like I don't
else?
know how it's gonna work, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to talk about McKinley.
No, that's fine. I'll make sure that we give him a shout out and that we keep that in. Any parting thoughts for someone who's thinking about doing a triathlon or an Ironman? Any advice?
Um, if it's something like, and I think I've said this before, if it is a goal that you have, you do everything in your power to make sure you achieve that goal. I am living proof that anything is possible. Um, and it's possible if you're willing to put in the work. It's like if you have the heart, if you have the guts, because it takes a lot of guts. If you can do just everything in your power to make sure you achieve that goal, like I said, anything is possible. And just know that for yourself. And it's you against you. And yeah, it's just you against you. So don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just concentrate on you. Um, yeah, like I said, living proof, anything's possible. I'm an Ironman at 50. 50.
Yay!
Still insane. So every time I say it, I'm like, what? Is that for real? Yeah.
Yay! Well, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. Thank you for being on Exposed Vegan Media. And I'm honored that this is what your first time doing a podcast. So,
I'm sure y'all can tell because I mean, I'm a nervous wreck.
but it was awesome to hear your story. And thank you for sharing with my audience. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much, Jaja, for the opportunity to be on your podcast. So I'm
Thank
honored.
you. Thank you. Thank you for watching Exposed Vegan Media. If you like this episode, please share it with others and subscribe. We look forward to sharing more information with you.